Hey guys, welcome back to TFM Tech. My name is Dimitri, and on today's episode we are going to be doing the full PC build guide. Before we get into today's video, I just want to cover some things. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. Part 1 was the unboxing of all the parts you see here right now on the table. That'll be linked in a card on the top right corner. This is part 2, the full PC build guide, and part 3 is going to be the installation process of the operating system, necessary drivers that you're going to need, and the BIOS update, depending on whether or not you need it, as well as XMP profiles and things like that. I'd also like to mention that this video is going to be broken up into 2 parts. Part 1 being the part introduction, where I go over all the parts that we use and how they work together, and then part 2 is going to be the actual installation and build, where we put everything together. So let's get to work. The case. We're using the NZXT H510 Elite. We have a tempered glass front and side panel, and overall, it's got RGB, man. Alright, so now we got our case out of the way, let's go on to our CPU. For our CPU, we are using the Ryzen 7 3700X. It's an 8-core, 16-thread processor. It's going to work great for our video editing needs. Alright, next, our graphics card. For our graphics card, we are using the EVGA 1660. This is the SC Ultra Gaming model. Yes, I know this may be a bummer to some of you guys that, it's a high-end, high-priced computer and we're using a $200 graphics card. But like I said, this computer is going to be built for content creation, video editing, game capturing, so we don't need a, super powerful high-end graphics card. So that's our graphics card of choice. Actually, I'm going to put these on the table. Up next, our motherboard. Oh. We went with the Asus ROG Strix B550F gaming motherboard. This is the non-Wi-Fi version, so we have to wire it, but other than that, it's a pretty nice motherboard. It'll support our 3000 series CPU that we have here, but it'll also be compatible with next-gen Ryzen, and yeah, all around nice motherboard. Next up, for our RAM, we're going to be using the Trident NEO. So this is rated for 3600 megahertz and it has a CAS latency of 16. This will work perfectly for our Ryzen series CPU, our Ryzen 3000 series CPU, because of its faster speeds. All right, next up, our storage. For storage, we have multiple, but I went with the Sabrent Rocket NVMe 4.0. So this is PCIe 4.0 or Gen 4. This will work great. We're going to be using this as a boot drive, and this is 500 gigs. Next for storage, we have a Western Digital Blue SATA SSD. This is a 500 gig version as well. It's a lot slower than the Rocket that we have here, but this is just going to be used for game storage. And next up for our storage, we have a Seagate Barracuda 4 terabyte hard drive. This is a 3.5 internal hard drive. Next up, AIO. For our all-in-one cooler, we went with the NZXT Kraken X63. This is a great all-in-one cooler. It comes actually with 2 pre-installed Air P140mm fans. That's our all-in-one cooler. And next up, we have our extension cables. This is a pair of Asiahorse, $30-40, and you have a much better and much more aesthetically pleasing power cables running to your motherboard. Next up, our PSU. For our PSU, we went with the EVGA SuperNova 850 P2. This is a 850 watt, 80 plus platinum efficiency rated power supply. This is a little bit overkill for our current setup, but keep in mind we have a very respectable motherboard and we have a kind of like a lacking GPU. So upgrading in the future to a 3080 or even 3080 Ti, we will have no issues. We don't have to upgrade anything else or touch anything else. Our power supply can handle it. So that's why we chose this. And last but not least, we have the least important thing on the list, which is our USB flash drive. We have a USB flash drive because in the next video, part 3, when we install the operating system, we're going to need this to transfer over Windows to our PC. So, now that all that's out of the way, let's build a computer. Alright guys, so I just want to briefly go over some of the tools we're going to be needing. We're going to need a Phillips number 1 and Phillips number 2 screwdriver, a pair of side cutters, a small knife, and some tweezers. Zip ties. Alright guys, so before we build the computer, I just want to stress one thing. It is crucial that you remove as much static as you possibly can when building a computer. So I have a anti-static bracelet going from my ankle to the wall over there. So I am grounding myself out, and I'm also going to set up my PSU and set it on the table so that it grounds out my workspace. You have your screws that go into the back of the case, so you definitely don't want to lose these. And then you have your power supply here, which is very hefty, might I add. As you can see here, very, very nice looking, very, very well built power supply. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these twist ties off of the cable here. Our cable plugged in. And then we're going to plug this into the wall and set this on our table, and that will ground out our table. And since I don't want to lose anything, I'm going to keep the screws and everything that came in the box in the pouch that they have provided. And I'm going to put all the cables back in there for now. Boom. Get this. I'll set it behind me. And now we're going to set this up and plug it in. So this theoretically is now grounded out my table. I have confidence that nothing's going to happen. Plus, I'm on tile. Table's on tile. I think we're good. We're going to take our motherboard out. Good morning, guys. It is currently the next day. I had a little issue last night. As soon as I finished the time lapse, I forgot I left my wireless microphones on, and my microphone died, so I wasn't able to finish the full video last night, but I haven't touched the computer since. I have it all put together right now at the moment, but we're going to take it apart and we're going to show you how the cable management went and how it all turned out, and one thing I'm going to fix while we're here. Alright guys, so I'm going to take this back panel off and the front panel off, and you can be the judge and tell me how it looks. Alright guys, so this definitely isn't the cleanest job in the world, and it definitely isn't, you know, the messiest. I am pretty proud about how the cable management came out, especially for my first time ever building a computer, not knowing really, you know, how everything's supposed to go or how it works. On the front here, I do want to change around one thing. I don't know if you can see here. I'll give you a quick close-up. As you can see right here, this USB, this micro USB or mini USB, whatever you want to call it, cable that comes from our NZXT AIO is kind of messy the way that it comes up and comes around here. But the issue is that I can't actually get it to go behind the fan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this fan, drop it down, get it so that it comes behind here once I drop the fan down. And then I'll route all of the cables that come up from the NZXT AIO up through here and out the back so that it looks much cleaner. Boom. So that now is the complete finished product. And I think it looks pretty clean. There's kind of no real good way to manage this cable. So that's kind of just where it's going to have to sit for now. Oh yes. And the front panel. It's looking nice, guys. And our computer is built. We have a sticker here I'm going to try to get off cleanly. Alright guys, so now that we have our fan and our cables all situated and it's nice and neat, we are going to do a test boot. One thing, a test post. I want to see if everything will turn on altogether. One thing that I did do was I removed our Western Digital Blue SATA SSD, M.2 SSD. And the reason why I did that, and as you can see I have the heat spreader and everything all taken off right here, and the reason why I did that is because when I go ahead and in the next video when we install the operating system, that is removed, so because it's two 500 gig M.2 SSDs that we're going to see when we go ahead to install our operating system. So I went ahead and took this one out because then the system will only recognize that one SSD, and that's where we will download Windows to, because that Sabrent SSD is the PCIe 4.0 or Gen 4, and that's the fastest and most efficient and fastest loading SSD in the system. And that's the SSD I want our operating system on so that our PC boots up like that. So now that you know that we took out the M.2, the SATA M.2, let's go ahead and power on this bad Larry. It's plugged in. Oh. Turning it on would help. See the lights kicked on. go. System turned on, all the fans are on, everything is running. GPU fans are going. And our front intake fans are going. Alright guys, so now that we verified our system works, I will see you in the outro. Alright guys, so that's pretty much going to sum up the PC build. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video just as much as I enjoyed making it. I'm sorry if the video is a little rough around the edges. Like I said, this is my first PC build and my first time ever recording a PC build by myself, so it was kind of tricky. If you guys liked the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you leave those in the comments section below. I will try my best to read and respond to all of them. And last but not least, if you're interested in learning how to install your operating system, any necessary drivers that you're going to need, as well as a BIOS update if needed, be sure to get subscribed and turn on notifications because that video is coming up next on TFM Tech. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.